It's the perfect time to replace that beast in your basement, your old inefficient boiler, with a highly efficient Peerless boiler. Peerless boilers, they're a perfect match for homes, apartments, commercial buildings, you name it. Get the heat and hot water you need efficiently and save big on your energy bill all year long. Learn more about the entire Peerless Boilers family of products, and to find a local installer near you, visit peerlessboilers.com. And remember, my guy Pete Morgan, Peerless Boilers, the world's best built boilers, peerlessboilers.com.
He's at war with woke.
Joe Concha
thinks liberals are a joke.
Joe Concha.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
Hello, everybody, on this Tuesday night. It's going to be, let's see, my son is so into the weather. Forget wind chill, like an actual -1 before any sort of wind chill. So hopefully you are warm. And as I have said, just get used to this, because the 20-day forecast has almost nothing that says that it's going to be remotely warm. I mean, like 40 is going to feel like 70 when we finally get back there again. But yeah, I mean, it's just one of those winters. It's the El Nino or La Nina, or one of those Niñas things going on that is bringing in cold weather from the Arctic, and that is that. You just got to deal with it. And hey, you know, it's not like we're in 1776, all right? And we're the U.S. troops, not even U.S., just the rebellion, right? The revolutionaries that were out there with like nothing, like no iPhone, no, what's my wife in right now? I just left her. Electric blanket, the slippers I got her for Christmas. Trust me, it's a very, for most of you, a pretty easy time to get through the cold right now, given all the advantage we have in 2026 from a technologies perspective, especially when it comes to warmth. Anyway, congratulations to Sid, by the way. 10 years with WABC. I think he just got off 5 minutes ago, right? I think that's a record all time. It was like Cory Booker, right, on the Senate floor doing the filibuster, except, let's see, Sid was actually entertaining. He actually had President Trump on the air with him for an extended period of time, plus a whole bunch of A-list guests. I mean, yeah, to compare him to Booker, I guess like Sid, you could say, is like the more conservative, like actual testosterone version of Cory Booker, who, you know, when he urinates and it hits the urinal, it sounds feminine. Like, that's Cory Booker. Like, Sid is the exact opposite of that. And in 10 great years at WABC, he will be here for the next 40. That is the prediction, because, hey, like me, it's a labor of love going on the radio and talking about whatever the hell you want. Meanwhile, some breaking news here, the beauty of doing live shows here on WABC. Ilhan Omar was just sprayed in the face tonight at a town hall in Minneapolis. Now, if you watch the video, and this is radio, unfortunately, so you're just going to have to trust me on this. I watched the video about 6 times before I came on, and this just happened maybe like 8 minutes ago. And obviously, videos everywhere. It's already up on social media. It's already gone viral. But it was kind of weird, because a guy walks up to her, and not really in a menacing way, and he looks very granola, looks like one of these so-called protesters that are out there, and then he sprays something at her in the face, but it's not, you know, pepper spray or mace or anything like that. And then Omar, almost like a superhero, he gets hit in the face, it has no effect on her, and then she goes after the attacker, and then some other guy comes in and tackles the guy, and they bring him off. Right. And then she said, "We are Minnesota strong, and we will stay resilient in the face of whatever they might throw at us." Look, there are some folks online, including some prominent ones, that are saying, no wonder why people are asking if this was staged, because this is not normal behavior. I'm sorry. If I'm a public figure like Ilhan Omar, and obviously I have some people that probably aren't big fans of mine out there, just like almost every politician these days, right? And when you do a town hall, it's a risk to a certain extent. It'll look like, just say security is very lax, because this guy literally just kind of waltzed right up to her. No one did anything, which is hard to believe. He then raises his hand. You don't know whether he has a gun, whether he has a weapon. He sprayed something that apparently had no real poisonous impact, as far as, again, the things that could, you know, hurt your eyes, especially as we just mentioned, like mace or pepper spray. And then she literally like puts up her right hand as if she's going to, you know, do a full like Balboa on him. And then a guy kind of comes in and halfway tackles him, and then she walks back to the mic and says what she said. She's like, boy, that was pretty tame. You know, what if you're going to spray something at somebody, you would think there would be something horrible. That we don't want that. Obviously, you could disagree with Ilhan Omar, right? But at the same time, you don't want to see anybody getting hurt in these situations or attacked. It's a horrible precedent on top of everything else. The precedent obviously being set when Donald Trump was nearly assassinated twice. But you watch the video, and the whole thing is just weird. It makes no sense. And the last thing you would think an Ilhan Omar would do is not a big person at all. I saw her in Congress once. She can't be 5 foot tall. She goes after the guy? Why didn't security step in and get her out of there? And then why did security let this guy just walk up within like a foot of her and spray this thing in her face? Like, nothing made sense about this. Again, at commercial only, because you're obligated to listen to the show. Watch it, and you'll see that there's just something very, very off and something very, very, for lack of a better word, contrived about what we just saw with Ilhan Omar being, I'm putting in scare quotes, attacked by, I guess, a protester who sprayed something in her face that very well could have been, just bubble mix or, mist, because it did absolutely nothing to her. Anyway, let's get into the show, shall we? And, I'm hearing that Democrats really need to take down the temperature because these are peaceful protests and we don't want any sort of violence in any way, shape, or form. Yeah, well, you ever hear Larry Krasner? This guy is the district attorney of Philadelphia, speaking of Balboa. And wait till you hear what he has to say about what he wants to do to ICE agents if they start conducting major operations in Philadelphia, which has very big problems right now. And it's about what you would expect times 10. This is cut number 17. Go.
This is a small bunch of wannabe Nazis. That's what they are. In a country of 350 million, we outnumber them.
Good math.
If we have to hunt you down, the way they hunted down Nazis for decades, we will find your identities. We will find you. We will achieve justice. And
what kind of justice are we talking about exactly? Hunt you down? Like, I don't know, Nazis you're comparing ICE agents to? I know that's like kind of a Tim Walz thing. We've heard this before. But what the hell? Hunt you down? And then what exactly? This guy, again, this isn't some left-wing lunatic, right? This isn't some Karen Infantata wine mom that's going nuts on TikTok. This is the top cop of one of the biggest cities in the country calling ICE Nazis and saying that he wants to hunt them down, find their identities, and go to their homes where they may have, a wife and kids, hunt down, and then do what exactly? Any halfway, even somebody remotely crazy, right? Like on the spectrum kind of crazy would hear that and think, oh, well, that of course means that we have to shoot these ICE officers. Like we saw National Guard being shot in Washington, D.C., like we've seen Border Patrol shot at in Texas, like we saw a woman try to run over, at least if she wasn't trying to run the guy over, she still hit him in Minneapolis. Of course, was Nicole Good. Hit the guy in the torso, caused internal bleeding. Yeah, some people may act. Or the guy in Minneapolis who also attacked an ICE officer with a shovel, snow shovel, deadly weapon. I could go on, but when your leaders are talking like this, I'm sorry. That is an arrestable offense, right? That is incitement, right? That is basically calling for an insurrection. I'm sorry. This guy, if I'm Trump, I get it. Like, it's just words. Nope. This is far, far worse. Congratulations, Philly. Eagles suck again this year. Congratulations. And now, obviously, you got this guy running the entire law enforcement apparatus in the city of brotherly love. Boy, is that ironic or what? Meanwhile, cut number 9 doesn't get too much better. This is a member of the Minneapolis City Council. Her name is Robin Wonsley. And, she's not going to go with Nazis here. She's going to go with Swatsis instead because I guess it kind of rhymes and you want to go with a different word so it goes viral or something. This is cut number 9. Go.
We want the 2,000 plus agents that are still here today occupying our communities and putting them at harm's risk for being abducted or even shot and killed. We want them out. We don't want Swatsis. So until that demand is fulfilled, there is simply not a satisfying moment in this change.
The audio does no justice here because this city council member has green hair. I'm not joking with you. Green hair. And now she's calling ICE agents. We don't want Swatsis here. Again, for the 1 billionth time, city councilwoman, these ICE agents are removing the worst elements within your city. There is a reason why the murder rate in this country dropped at its fastest rate in 2025 in Trump's first year to the lowest level we have seen since 1900. Not very good at math, but that's 126 years ago. And ICE operations and what we're doing as far as getting these elements out of our society who never should have been here in the first place. And yet the people that are conducting these operations, putting their lives on the lines, are being called Nazis and Swatsis by the Democratic Party. And I swear this will have a boomerang effect on this party. This is not resonating with the type of people they need to win national elections. Maybe in Minneapolis you win, fine. Seattle, sure. New York, outside of major insane cities, the rest of the country is behind ICE, and because obviously this is a noble job, and the fact that they're being smeared in this way, they're going to get somebody killed, these people. They will have blood on their hands. That is certainly for sure. Meanwhile, my friend Megan Kelly, she's got a little podcast, and I say that in the most sarcastic terms. Megan has started basically a media empire as far as her podcast is concerned, and the reason why people like Megan so much is because she is authentic, and she does not hold back, and she doesn't really care at all one little bit about being politically correct in any way, shape, or form. There's something on her mind, much like Trump, she will share it and not care what you think exactly. And here's what she had to say about Alex Preddy getting shot over the weekend. Remember, this is the guy who approached ICE agents, Border Patrol, with a 9mm semi-automatic weapon, fully loaded. And then, I guess because he's only there because he's peaceful, had not one but two magazines on him of ammunition, something up like an additional 50 bullets if needed, because, there's a lot of elk wandering the streets of Minneapolis these days, and also had no identification on him, put his hands on officers there. It's not entirely clear. Christy Nome said that he was brandishing a weapon. There's no video that supports that. But at the same time, if you approach law enforcement this heavily armed and don't say that you have this sort of ammunition and this kind of firearm on you, that's a problem. And oh, by the way, this same guy, Alex Preddy, he actually got into a confrontation. It was reported by CNN last week. CNN today, that last week he got into a confrontation with ICE officers and ended up with a broken rib. You would think at that point that would be kind of a sign that maybe you don't want to start antagonizing and getting into physical altercations with federal law enforcement, but he did, and then he tried it again, and now he's dead. So anyway, here's Megan Kelly on how not to get shot by federal law enforcement. Cut 15, go.
I know I'm supposed to feel sorry for Alex Preddy, but I don't. Do you know why I wasn't shot by Border Patrol this weekend? Because I kept my ass inside and out of their operations.
Yep.
It's very simple.
That's how you not get shot. She's so right about that. And now this guy is being turned into a national martyr. Again, this is only going to get worse before it gets better. And because you have enough Democratic lawmakers and those in the media who continue to use the type of rhetoric that will drive somebody to eventually execute an ICE officer or a border agent, much like we saw with the National Guard in Washington, D.C. Meanwhile, speaking of that report, here is CNN. All right, you guys have 1/8 the ratings we do over at Fox. But once in a while, maybe you do break a story like you used to back in the olden days. Here is CNN's report on Mr. Preddy about how, boy, this guy really liked getting into trouble with law enforcement and physical altercations, didn't he? Cut 13, go.
Alex Preddy had a physical encounter with federal agents about a week before he was shot and killed by law enforcement. Sources tell CNN that Preddy broke a rib when a group of federal officers tackled him while he was protesting.
Yeah, a group of federal officers tackled him while he was protesting. See, the framing there, I can't quite get my head around. He was antagonizing. Because clearly, either this guy got, into an altercation with ICE officers and federal agents 1 week to the point where he had a rib broken, and then the next week, randomly, among all these hundreds or even thousands of so-called protesters, wow, law enforcement picked this one guy out again to take out. Or maybe he was the problem. Just saying. So, again, let's stop calling these people protesters. Many of these people are antagonizers. Some are, the infantada Karens. I get it. Wine moms are out there to blow their whistles and feel good about themselves. But the majority now you see in terms of people actually getting violent, actually, in one hotel here that I'm looking at on Fox literally right now, they attacked a hotel where they thought ICE agents were staying, breaking glass, breaking windows. One guy's now holding up a sign that he was able to drag down at this hotel, which has nothing to do with anything. So, and every time these people have masks on and they're all almost adult young males, I wonder if they're getting paid. Of course they're getting paid, and that's how this thing has been organized. Meanwhile, speaking of horrible rhetoric, let's go to Tim Walz. He wants Kristi Noem to resign as DHS secretary and go back to South Dakota, and this guy thinks he's a funny guy. Cut 11, go.
And now all of a sudden we get this. So, yeah, it's the weirdest damn thing. I don't know what to tell you, but I think she probably should go back to South Dakota, not have any dogs, and just kind of ride things out.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Thanks, Tim. The biggest clown ever. And again, this guy could have been a heartbeat away from the presidency with Kamala Harris being the president. We didn't dodge a bullet. We dodged a Scud missile, my friends. Anyway, this is Joe Concha. This is the Joe Concha Show. We're going to tell you on the other side what Tim Walz said in terms of Anne Frank actually being the same sort of situation as illegals today. And then we're going to give you Scott Jennings' reaction, which you should hang it in the loop. It's that good. This is Joe Concha. Back with more in just a moment.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition.
Joe Concha.
Sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation.
Rural Americans deserve access to the best of what our nation has to offer, especially health care. Across every state and every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, and loved ones. No matter where you live, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Each year, America's over 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients are doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families healthy. But now, some in Congress are threatening access to care. Tell Congress, protect patient care to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
All right, welcome back, everybody. As promised, here's Tim Walz evoking Anne Frank, who hid from the Nazis before eventually being captured and sentenced to death, despite being a teenage girl. She did keep a diary, of course, became one of the most important, most poignant documents, books, journals, whatever you want to call it, of the 20th century. So Walz is now actually comparing Anne Frank to illegals hiding from ICE in 2026. Scott Jennings, fortunately, is here to give his reaction. This is cut number 5. Go.
And in one of the most idiotic, historically illiterate, and irresponsible statements made to date, the governor of Minnesota, an absolute buffoon, Tim Walz, said this.
Grew up reading that story of Anne Frank. Somebody's going to write that children's story about Minnesota.
Oh. You're going to write that story about Minnesota? The way Amsterdam was written about with Anne Frank? Aye, buffoon. Jennings nails it there, no question. Back with more in a moment.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
All right, so just to put a little bow on this, so Tim Walz calls for Kristi Noem to resign. Many other Democrats are as well. Well, Donald Trump is not having that, and he spoke about the calls for Noem to step aside today, and he is loyal to a fault. Noem is back to him, therefore she ain't going anywhere, and he makes a very good point in terms of the overall job she has done so far. This is cut number 12. Go.
I am, yeah. I think she's doing a very good job. The border is totally secure. You know, you forget. We had a border that I inherited where millions of people were coming through. Now we have a border where no one is coming through. They come into our country only legally. So you have to remember those things. You know, people forget as soon as you accomplish something, it goes into history.
Right, exactly. So, I don't know, we went from 10 to 12 million people coming over during the Otto Penn administration to virtually zero. Yes, that's Trump's rhetoric, but also DHS Secretary deserves credit there as well. That is Kristi Noem. The only thing I would say, if I'm going to give some criticism here from a media standpoint, from a communication standpoint, that when a shooting like the Alex Preddy situation happens over the weekend, probably smarter just to say there's an ongoing investigation. We're looking at all the video and all the facts, but right now we're not going to draw any conclusion. Instead, she went right to Preddy being at fault. And when she said, look, brandishing a gun, that means waving a gun, pointing a gun, then obviously law enforcement 110% justified in taking that person out. It could be a suicide by cop sort of situation. But when you say brandished and then there wasn't any video to support that, maybe she just has to pump the brakes on that and just make sure you have all the facts. Because all that does is give the left, the other side, ammunition to say, see, Noem is lying. Noem doesn't know what she was talking about. Maybe those were the reports that she was originally given from those on the ground, but you got to show some restraint in those situations. But overall, if you're looking at the job that Kristi Noem is doing in terms of deportations, in terms of closing the border, she absolutely should be keeping her job at this point. In the meantime, Tom Homan, who is as serious as a heart attack, he is now the point man in Minneapolis. And, you know, you want to disagree with this guy, go against this guy, when, again, he was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom by not Donald Trump in his first term, by Barack Obama way back when, because Homan worked for him too and did such an effective job in removing millions of people under Obama. Remember, he was called the deporter-in-chief, and the left didn't really say much about that. Here's Tim Homan in terms of making the argument as to why ICE operations are so important in terms of protecting the American people, especially those who are the most vulnerable. Cut 14, go.
6% decline. 96% less people are coming. How many women aren't being raped? How many children aren't dying making that journey? How many women and children aren't being sex trafficked into this country every day? How many known suspected terrorists aren't just walking across that border? President Trump and this administration is saving thousands of lives every month. Hard stop. That's just a stone cold fact. I'm just proud to be a part of this. I work with Steve Miller every day. Steve Miller is one of the most brilliant people I've met in my entire life.
It's 100% true about Stephen Miller. And obviously, this team around Trump overall is so much like leaps and bounds better than what we saw during Trump 1.0. Remember who the Secretary of State was when Trump took office in 2017? Anybody want to guess? Can you remember? Don't look it up. Rex Tillerson, who, you know, oil executive, knows the globe, knows energy. You know, maybe you make him the interior decorator, interior secretary. He's an interior decorator. I went to total Sopranos mode there at that point. But yeah, it was Rex Tillerson, right? And who was his chief of staff when he first started? Reince Priebus, right? Who was director of communications for all of 11 days? Anthony Scaramucci. I'm going to go down the line. Amoroso worked for the first Trump administration. Not good. The Attorney General was Jeff Sessions, because Sessions supported him early on during his campaign in 2015. So it was like a reward kind of thing. Like, okay, you were loyal to me, I'll be loyal to you. And then, of course, Sessions ends up recusing himself during the Russia investigation, which then leads to the special counsel and 3 years of Trump's first term being eaten up by a hoax. So, again, overall, when you compare this team around him now, RFK Jr., Tulsi Gabbard, Pete Hegseth, Sean Duffy over at Transportation, Scott Bessent, who I can't speak highly enough of in terms of not only the job he's doing at the Treasury, but the way he handles media interviews is incredible, as is Marco Rubio, as is J.D. Vance. I'm missing a lot of people here. Doug Burgum, as far as interior energy. We now have gas prices in Iowa that are below $1.85, and the president actually was in Iowa today for a rally, did mention that there are places now where you can get gas for well below $2 a gallon, which many people scoffed at, but drill baby drill absolutely is working. But you heard Tom Homan speak about Stephen Miller before and how brilliant he is, and in terms of knowing exactly what needs to be done as far as illegal immigration. Well, there's this NYU professor named Scott Galloway, this big Democrat, who joined the insufferable Kara Swisher on her podcast, broadcast to friends and relatives today, and he wants Democrats to conduct trials equivalent to Nuremberg, specifically to go after Stephen Miller first. And this is... when we talk about the midterms and Democrats gaining back power, this is the type of stuff that you're going to see if we end up having a House Speaker, Hakeem Jeffries, and Democrats in power where they can run all these so-called investigations and January 6 committees times 10. This is what they're promising, and they will deliver on it if Republicans can't hold power in November. This is cut number 10. Go.
What I'm suggesting is, and again, I've struggled with this my whole life, the difference between being right and being effective. And we're angry, and I get it, protesting is powerful. Promising them that there will be an accountability. And I've said this, I think there should be something equivalent to the Nuremberg trials after this is all over.
I agree.
And to make it clear that once we're back in power, which we will be, this is going to happen. And the statute of limitations on murder is...
Murder?
Zero.
Never.
Murder. You're going to try Stephen Miller under Nuremberg scenario, which if you watch the movie, it's actually excellent with Russell Crowe, who is, again, timeless. You think about A Beautiful Mind came out, 25 years ago? Ron Howard, one of my favorite movies all time. Gladiator, one of my favorite movies all time, came out 2000. Master and Commander, which is a tremendous movie where he plays a British captain in search of a French captain's boat, which is much faster and much more nimble and powerful than his is. I hate to go off on tangents, but I do that on this show. Crow is incredible in Nuremberg, but for Democrats to start, again, everything is Nazi analogies. I'm pretty sure they're overplaying their hand. Boy who cried wolf, party who cried Nazi. That's exactly what we're dealing with here. Dana Perino is one of the most common sense people I have ever met, and we work together over that little network we have, Fox News, #1 in the country. Here is Dana talking about how Democrats now want to shut down the government. They want to shut down the government again because that was so smart the first time they did it a couple of months ago. Now we're on the verge of another government shutdown. And this time, Democrats said the last time they shut it down was over healthcare costs and Obamacare subsidies. Now, this time, they say it's all about defunding ICE, but Dana points out a very big problem with that whole approach. This is cut number 3. Go.
So the Democrats have really painted themselves into a corner here. And one of the things Chuck Schumer needs to be able to show his people is that they can get achievable wins, right? That they could advance the ball down the field, get the first down, and get there so that they can figure out a way to survive the midterms or, as he hopes, to try to take back the Senate. Right now, though, he has to look at the activist online base. And they are saying, shut down the government, no more money for ICE. But nobody in the Democratic Party can explain to the activists that you've already funded ICE through 2029. So if you shut down the government on Friday because you don't want to give Department of Homeland Security any more money, well, you can take FEMA money away from people in the middle of a snowstorm if you want, or you could take money away from the TSA when people are trying to escape the snowstorm, when we've got 22,000 canceled flights today. You could try that, and they might be just crazy enough to do it.
She's right. They might be crazy enough to do it. But again, defund ICE, you morons. They are funded through 2029 through the big, beautiful bill. But they'll go ahead and do it anyway, I guess. And then they'll blame Republicans, and our stupid media will say, yep, yeah, they're right. Even though Republicans will then vote over and over again to reopen the government. Democrats will vote against it, and we'll just have a repeat all over again. But Dana's right. In this case, you're dealing with winter storms now, and FEMA is needed. I know that they are seen by some as completely ineffective, but, maybe things have improved under this administration. And obviously, we still have this storm that hit over the weekend where we still have hundreds of thousands without power due to ice that's just not going away. Meanwhile, here is one Democratic congresswoman who thinks it's a great idea to shut down the government, but she can't say exactly why we should shut down the government. Again, it's all about emotion with this party. It's all about, okay, let's do this, okay, but not thinking about the next part, which is what happens next. This is cut number 6. Go.
I'm just curious, would a shutdown over DHS funding really give Democrats much leverage to restrict ICE activities? Because after all, last summer's so-called big, beautiful bill gave ICE alone a jaw-dropping $75 billion.
Good.
That's right. And unfortunately, because of that bill, the administration has enough money for ICE to continue operating this way for years. These are not two great options, funding DHS as is or shutting down the government.
All right, not two great options. So here's what you don't do. Don't shut down the government and then just live with the fact that elections have consequences. You don't control the House. Mike Johnson is an acrobat, just a genius for being able to get through bills with basically a 1-vote majority, thanks to the perpetual no that is Thomas Massie, a Republican who votes with AOC and the squad more than he does Republicans because he fundraises off of it. I don't know, long story with that clown. But the point is that, Democrats don't have much of a play here. They shut down the government. Even though the media will be on their side to a certain extent, this is a much tougher sell, it appears, if it's over ICE funding when they're already funded through 2029. Maybe don't shut down the government. Live with the fact that ICE is going to be funded for a long time. And maybe work with ICE to remove criminals from major cities. I mean, I wrote today about Memphis and New Orleans, and these are two cities with Democratic mayors, but they are cooperating with the Trump administration. And now you are seeing precipitous drops in murders, in rapes, in carjackings, just like we saw in D.C., in places like Memphis and New Orleans, which had two of the highest murder rates in the country. And now they're working with ICE. Suddenly, you're seeing drops of 60, 70% in those cities. Good idea, right? Makes sense to me. But sense and common sense particularly is in short supply in Washington, D.C. Anyway, this is Joe Concha. This is the Joe Concha Show. We wrap this puppy up in just a moment.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition.
Joe Concha.
Sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
All right, everybody. Well, the U.S. Holocaust Museum has responded to Tim Walz comparing Anne Frank and, again, a girl who was targeted by the Nazis because she was Jewish and then exterminated when she was eventually found upstairs in a hiding area. You could call it basically the attic of somebody's house back during World War II. And he actually is now saying that somebody will write the story of Minnesota one day being the same as Anne Frank because we have illegal criminals who are hiding from ICE to avoid getting deported out of the country. Yeah, I mean, you want to talk about ass clown. This is one with a capital A. Anyway, the U.S. Holocaust Museum has now responded. Anne Frank was targeted and murdered solely because she was Jewish. Leaders making false equivalencies to her experience for political purposes is never acceptable. Despite tensions in Minneapolis, exploiting the Holocaust is deeply offensive, especially as anti-Semitism surges. That is the U.S. Holocaust Museum going off on Democratic Goofy's 80s sitcom dad, Tim Walz. Again, a guy who could have been a heartbeat from the presidency. Anyway, let's talk about Bill Belichick for a moment. I can't get my head around this one. I get a text from some of my friends who we just basically text about football and other ridiculous things all day. And apparently the Hall of Fame vote was today for football. And Bill Belichick, this was the first year that he was eligible. He's coaching at the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill right now. But Belichick did not make it on the first ballot. My dudes, Bill Belichick has won not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7. He has 8 Super Bowl rings. 8! Find me another person on the planet who can say they have 8 Super Bowl rings, because that person does not exist. You want to talk about unanimous Hall of Fame, first rounder, like no questions asked. He's going to get in, I know, but 8 Super Bowl rings? You say, wait a minute, Joe, he only won 6 with the Patriots. He won 2 with the Giants as defensive coordinator under Bill Parcells. Then you say, well, Tom Brady is the only reason why he won. I can't. All right. Brady, in my estimation, is the greatest quarterback of all time. And it's like Phil Jackson having Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant, and then before that having Michael Jordan. Like, was Phil Jackson a great coach? He won 10 championships. You could say, well, because he had great players. Well, you had to help these people mesh in the chemistry and the locker room control and everything else like that and deal with all those egos. I mean, I'm sorry. 8 Super Bowls. I don't care who's on your team. You're a first-round Hall of Famer. And then one of my smarter friends pointed out that maybe because of Spygate, that's something being held against him. Now he's 73 years old, and he's dating a 24-year-old former cheerleader, Jordan Hudson. God bless that man. I guess he doesn't care if he's in the Hall of Fame in the first round. I mean, he is dating a 24-year-old as a 73-year-old. You got to admire that on some level. What do they talk about exactly? I mean, I remember the waning days of my single days. I dated somebody who was like 8 years younger than me, and I could not relate to this person whatsoever, let alone, let's say, 73 minus. Yeah, that's 50 years younger. Yeah, I'm thinking that it's not about conversation. Who are we kidding? At least for Bill. All right. Anyway, before I go off on a tangent, which should be the name of the show, by the way, let's go through some fun sound bites, shall we? Here is Donald Trump, the president tonight in Iowa, saying that, you know what? He's going to try to win the presidency for a 4th time. Crowd seemed to like that one. Cut number 18, go.
We better do it again. Not too many people who would have said that. But we did so well the second time, I said, well, we won twice, we got to do it a 3rd time.
Get it?
Should we do it a 4th time? 4 victories.
Well,
we got the right team over there. The right team over there.
I never say definitively that Trump won't run for a 3rd term. I just can't quite get there. Of course, that might not be a good thing because, he can't. You know, you could say, well, they'll find a way around it. It's not good for J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio if Trump keeps talking about how he may be the president again for another 4 years. I know he's joking, but, there's a little truth in every joke. I'll just leave it there. Anyway, here's Trump also in Iowa going off on ABC News, which, you know what? They may be the worst. I know I get MS Now is not a news organization, MSNBC, whatever they are, so I could leave them out of it. CBS is improving under Bari Weiss, I think. They still got a bad culture there and a lot of bad talent who are absolutely Democratic activists like Gayle King and Scott Pelley, for example. And NBC is just NBC. But ABC, where it's run by a girl named Dana Walden, who is best friends literally with Kamala Harris, set up Kamala with Doug Emhoff. They're neighbors in Brentwood, California, OJ Bill, right? So ABC probably is the worst, and Trump lets this one reporter know it. It's cut 16. Go.
Minnesota, Mr. President, some of your own administration officials have labeled Alex Brady.
By the way, this is ABC fake news, this one. She hasn't asked me a good question in years. I think a nice woman, but I don't really like her too much. Go ahead. What did you say? I'd say ABC's about as bad as they get.
And the crowd's all laughing along. They're not saying, hey, how dare you attack this journalist? They are who they are. ABC. Speaking of ABC, Jimmy Kimmel, hilarious. I hear him, and I'm just like, wow. It's like Carson and Rickles and Sinatra and Burt Reynolds all over in my head again. It's like a young Letterman. It's a younger Leno. It's even Conan O'Brien. No, it's not actually. This pious Pope of late night cried again on the air last night because that's the type of escapism and comedy that people go to ABC for at 11:35 at night, Monday through Friday. Here is Jimmy crying again over ICE this time. Boy, this is entertainment. Cut number 11. I'm sorry, cut number 7. Go, cut number 7.
The Preddy family and the Good family and these people who were looking out for their neighbors.
Looking out for their neighbors.
We want you to know that we are with you and you are not alone.
Yeah, whenever I look out for my neighbors, I always carry a 9-meter semi-automatic gun with 2 magazines of ammunition that could hold up to 50 bullets. I leave my ID at home, and I go up to law enforcement. I put my hands on them, and I expect nothing to happen. Yeah, he's just looking out for his neighbors. I mean, it's not even funny. It's a lie. It's an absolute blatant lie. Anyway, what isn't a lie is that this show has been awesome. It has been a very fast hour once again. I'm really enjoying this Monday through Friday night thing, nationally syndicated, always a good thing. And we'll be back again tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, or wherever you listen to this particular show on your particular station, your particular local market. In the meantime, most of you are freezing out there, but hey, it's January, and one day it'll be June again. It'll be warm, and I will be here, God willing, serving up the news and mocking people. That's what we do here. I am Joe Concha. 2 words for you as we say goodbye, and that is bye-bye.
Every week, the Payne family cuts straight to the real financial story.
The one question, Bob, everyone's asking is, are we in an artificial intelligence bubble? You've been through boom and bust. What do you think?
No hype, no myths. Just what actually matters to your money.
Does feel very similar to what we experienced in the 90s. Where are we, though? Are we in 1995, 1997, 1999?
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.